Welcome to a new episode of Reelin with Nick. And as you might be able to tell, today we're going to be talking about technology that I'm going to be putting on my boat this year. And wow, we're going to be talking about the when, the where, and the why I chose this group of units to use. Then we're going to be discussing a hot subject, and that is technology in bass fishing. Too much? Not enough? Somewhere in the middle? We need to talk about it. Stay tuned. Let's look at what we have here. We have a Sullix 12-inch. This is a G2, a 2020 model that came on my boat last year. This is a Sullix G2 10-inch that also came on my boat last year. Now, this is a new one for this year. It's a Sullix G3 15-inch. And for live view, this is a Garmin 12.6 SV. These are the graphs that I'll be installing on my boat. Now, let's look at where they're going to be placed. I am somebody who really likes a single graph at my console. The 12-inch did a great job, but I got very, very fortunate to be able to get a 15-inch this year, and that's going to be at my console. All right, so that's going to be my lone unit at the console. Up front, I'm going to have the 12-inch Sullix for 360 mega. I'm going to have the Garmin 12.6 SV for the forward view. And then I'm going to be using the 10-inch Sullix for mapping 2D. Now this is where it gets really interesting. So going into this year, I really had no aspirations to have what I have in front of me right now. I was going to use my 12-inch at the console. I was happy with that. My 10-inch was going to be up at the bow, running 360, mapping, and everything else. And then I was going to go with a 10-inch Garmin unit. Actually, I was going to do another 10-inch Humminbird unit and wait for their live view, but it just seems like it's getting pushed back further and further, so I was going to go with a 10-inch Garmin. What ended up happening was I was talking to some individuals, seeing what I should get, where I should go, and I just happened, by dumb luck, to find somebody who had a 15-inch Sullix and a 12-inch Garmin, and they wanted to get rid of them in the worst way. So then I decided 15-inch Sullix at the console, 12-inch Sullix at the bow for 360, mapping and whatever, Garmin up there for live view. Then I thought about this 10-inch and I go, you know what? I can use that 10-inch. I'll use it for mapping 2D. Because what will happen is if this 15-inch ever goes down with the mount that I'm going to be using, which you'll see in the install video, I'll be able to move this 12-inch back to the console. 10-inch is still there to give me 360 2D mapping, and I'm still in business. So I'm protecting myself, and I could only do that because I got such a great deal. Because I'm not a rich guy by any means. I'm not a professional angler. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies here. It just worked out for me. So that's what I'm going to be running this year. Let me know what you think about this setup. I'm really excited about it. Now we're going to hit on a subject that's just smoking hot right now. There's great debate, and there's videos by professional angler Randy Blauket, who I will link down below so you can watch them then. And no matter if you're for technology advances, against technology advances, it's good to have these debates and open discussion. He's getting bombarded right now with good and bad publicity over his opinion on forward-facing technology. And really, technology advances overall in the fishing industry. And just like everything else, technology is just advancing at a record pace. Bass fishing from the early 90s, when I started going as a rider and this and that, has just evolved so much. It used to be lures, rods, reels, line. That was the big thing. And every off season, everybody would be so excited about the new colors coming out, the new jig designs. Now it's all about technology. It's about the new trolling motors, if it's brushless or spot lock or power poles, talons, the new Raptors. And then you bring in the graphs. It started with 2D, then down imaging. Your GPS evolved. And then it went to side imaging, mega side imaging, 360, mega 360, and now you have this forward view that's just taking over the industry. Is it too much? And he has a very strong opinion on it, and I'm somewhere in the middle, okay? He's a professional angler. He sees it a lot more than I do, and for as much as he's getting beat up on the topic, I really think it's good for professional anglers such as himself to have their opinions put out there. I don't think we have enough right now of professional anglers, especially from the 90s and early 2000s, to say, hey, which way is fishing going right now, and what is somewhere we want to be to make the competition even for everybody, okay? It's very important. I think it's very, very important to have that discussion. I see a lot of comments of, hey, Randy, you need to, retire. You're an old head, this and that. Listen, once we start canceling people's opinions, we're no different than any other sport or talk show or anything else in the world today. My take on the situation. I'm neither for or against the technology. I understand whether you're for it or against it, it's here. I also understand that unless it's breaking a rule, you're going to have to take advantage of the advances that are there, especially if you're a professional angler. If it's going to improve your ability and you neglect it, even though the rule's there, that's on you, okay? Now, if it's an ethical decision, then that's different. You have to decide what's best for you. And I think that's what Randy's doing. Okay? I will tell you from my perspective on the units that I showed you earlier, when I got that 15-inch and that 12-inch in the mail from the individual I bought them from, I waited a little bit to get them out of the box, but when I did, my first thought is I need to send these back. I don't want these. I'm going to sell these. This is not going to happen for me. And the reason is because it looked overkill to me, which it might be, okay? And I knew once I made the decision to put these units on this boat that there's always going to be this cloud over your head. And that is, if you go to a tournament, which I don't go to as many as people think, but if you go to a tournament and you do well, it's because you should have. You got all this technology. If you go to a tournament and you don't do well, you should have because you have all this technology. I understand that you are going to be the excuse now all the time because you have something other people don't. In reality, even though you have the technology, I'm still a weekend angler. Am I going to get the most out of that technology? The only way you get the most out of the technology is spending time on the water. That's something that your professionals have, is time on the water. Us weekend anglers can have all the technology in the world, but if you don't put the time on the water, it's not going to do you any good. So you still have to work hard at those units if you want to get the most out of them. So, I'm not giving excuses. I don't know how this is going to change my fishing. For anybody that knows me, knows I'm old school fisherman. I fish off instincts. That's what I've always done. I've always had decent graphs, but I never knew how to use them. I'd end up having side imaging, 360, and all this good stuff, but I'd end up using depth and temperature. I just want to go fishing. So I'm really going to take this technology and try to learn it. And I hope you come with me to do so, because we may find that it's not for me. I don't have the time, I don't get the most out of it. Or we may find that it changes fishing for me and maybe even for you forever. And we'll see, okay? But those are some of the thoughts I've had. Now, in the fishing industry altogether, I do think there's going to come a point, if we're not already there, that technology, there's always that fine line between too much, not enough, just right. We could be there. We could be there. I don't know. All right. Your professionals do know that, and more people need to speak out if they have the same opinions as Randy does. Because the reality of it is, if technology is there, those that can afford it, those that are getting it for free are going to fight tooth and nail for more technology. Those that can't afford it and are scraping by to make a living or trying to get to the point to make a living, they're going to say, whoa, 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 we can't afford to keep upgrading. So that's going to be a fine line. The other thing is, eventually, this technology is going to get to the point where it's affordable, because this new technology is going to be old at some point. And it's going to become affordable for people who keep fish. And those schools that you're finding right now with this technology, the average fisherman's going to find, and they're going to start keeping those fish. I'm interested to see how that turns out. We got to start taking bass fishing more seriously as a whole, and we need to start preserving this species in order to keep this tournament scene or bass fishing in general going. Because at some point, with the amount of fishermen that we have out there right now, with all this technology, that commodity that we all cherish right now, we could see problems in the near future. You know, you're fishing out lakes that just can't afford it. Sure, there's lakes out there that have an abundance, but if you're where I live, it's just not, the resource isn't there. So I'm interested to see how technology plays a part in that as well. So to sum it all up, technology is here to stay in every situation in life, and fishing is no different. We do need to find that happy medium. Hopefully we can all get along and we can all move forward in this great sport we all love. And all we have to do is enjoy every opportunity we have on the water. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and comment. And until next time, there's no such thing as a bad day on the water.